feeling good, can I tell?
We're going to do it one more time.
Can they hear?
Hold up, family. My name is Brother Ray. Can everybody hear? Welcome to the Brooklyn William Mackey Jr. History Club. We meet here every other Wednesday in honor of William Mackey Jr., Amos Wilson, El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz, Brother Gil Noble, Minister Khalid, Louis Ray Rivera, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Miss Leola Maddox, and all the historians that gave up fame and fortune because they wanted to bring information to the community. We never want to forget these people because they didn't have to go the route that they did. They could have went the other way and made a lot of money. So we honor them. And first I want to give a big hand to our people that came out in the live audience. And I want to give a big hand to our Zoom audience. Please mute yourself upon coming in. Zoom audience, please mute yourself and give yourself a big hand. We're going to bring the camera over to the Amos collection. We have these books in honor of Amos Wilson and Brother Sabalo of African World Info Systems, so he can continue his great work in honor of Amos Wilson. You got Blueprint for Black Power, The Psychology of Self-Hatred and Self-Defeat Toward the Reclamation of the African Mind, African-Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order, The Falsification of African Consciousness, The Developmental Psychology of the Black Child, Amos's classic, Black on Black Violence, The Psychodynamics of Black Self-Annihilation in Service of White Domination. And you hear everybody talking about black on black violence. Oh, we're killing each other. Oh, somebody got to do something. Amos talks about it with his classic. Issues of manhood in black and white, African-centered consciousness versus the New World Order. And you hear a lot about the New World Order all over the place. The New World Order, Amos wrote that book many years ago. Awakening the Natural Genius of Black Children, and in honor of our brother Louis Ray Rivera, who when Mackey left us too soon, he came down to the Mackey's group and he would come down here and he would speak for hours. And then we would close up and we would walk him home and he'd still be talking. So he came to that when Mackey left us. So we never want to forget Brother Louis Ray, his book Jazz in Jail. Now I got a couple of other publications that we have here for people to read and understand what's going on. We have The Invention of the White Race by Theodore Allen, Confronting the Color Crisis in the African Diaspora, Emphasis Jamaica, Brother Earl Ponder, who left us too soon, Revealing the Unspeakable Bible Verses, the truth about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam and the Holy Trinity. He left us too soon, and he left a lot of books with Sababu, so we try to help Sababu with these books. I just wind up finding this book, The Lost Jews, Laughed of the Ethiopian Philosophies. You know, you hear all this stuff about Hebrews and this and that and that and this. I found this book. Brother Tim Wise, White Like Me, Reflections on Race from a Privileged Son, in honor of the great Dr. Ben. Wasn't too many computers back then. Black man of the Nile and his family. Dr. Ben's classic. We honor Dr. Ben. Brother Harold, who left us too soon. I found out about this book, The Transfer Agreement. The Untold Story of the Secret Pact Between Third Reich and Jewish Palestine, in honor of Brother Harold. Charles Hamilton Houston and the Struggle for Civil Rights. A lot of people are talking about civil rights, and we have a lot of civil rights leaders. Civil rights. Charles Hamilton Houston lays the groundwork. Dr. Randy Short, Slavery Mastery. The Impact of Religious Slavery Revealed. This is in honor of Dr. Randy Short. Our sister Carol Alexander, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide, White Rage. In my opinion, the only person that ever cared about the people of Georgia. This is in honor of my sister Cynthia McKinney. When China sneezes, from the coronavirus lockdown to the global political economic crisis, I don't care what nobody say about these people that's running for office in the great state of Georgia. Cynthia McKinney, she cares about the people of Georgia. The Irritated Genie. Jays are the problem. World War III, COVID-19, and media censorship. War on the Horizon. The Irritated Genie wrote this book. Excellent. Our brother, Dr. Scott Whitaker, out of Atlanta, Georgia. Medicine, Medicine. The causes and solutions to the disease, malnutrition, and the medical sins that are killing the world. This is in honor of Dr. Scott Whitaker, super brother out of Georgia. You hear a lot about COVID-19 and this and that and the other. Robert Kennedy, the real Anthony Fauci, Bill Gates, Big Pharma, and the Global War on Democracy, and Dr. Robert Joseph McCullough and Ronald Cummings, The Truth About COVID-19, Exposing the Great Reset, Lockdown, Vaccine Passports, and the New Normal. I ask you to read books. The answers is in the books. Now, once again, I'm going to give a little community events. This is for information for the global world community. Our sister Keisha, Tag, Brother Ashe, and Brother Black, on YouTube Live every Thursday at 8 o'clock and on Facebook. They're going to be starting the new year. They're going to come on at 8 o'clock. Thorough Black Talk. Excellent program. Our Philadelphia connection, Sister Empress Chi, Blog Talk Radio, 10:30 every Saturday, while everybody is trying to get back into the normal. Our Philadelphia family, Sister Empress Chi, and the Million Women's March be getting it down. If you got a pen, 10:30 on Saturdays, the number is 1-319-527-6189. And you could join the conversation, and she be getting it on. We want to thank Sister Empress Chi and the Million Women's March. Also, out of Birmingham, Alabama, Io Kamati, Sankofa Radio comes on every Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning, family. Revolutionary Radio, WSYP, 95.1 FM, Birmingham, Alabama. Brother Anthony Mohammed. And when you go on that program, they have a wide selection of programs coming out of Revolutionary Radio. Our Baltimore family, Brother Darren Muhammad, State of the City, Tune In Radio, 1590 AM, Glen Burnie, comes on Saturday at 12 o'clock. And also you can hear him on Instagram under the title Mohammed Dekamet. Excellent program, and he also comes on Wednesdays and Thursdays on Facebook. He'll be starting off into the new year. So we want to salute our Baltimore family with Brother Darren Muhammad. Also, Dr. Aline and Your Immunity Project every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And Dr. Aline has an unbelievable program. And he comes on California Radio. So that's 7 p.m. every Tuesday. You put your information in the link, and I will send it to you. Now, African Echoes Study Group out of Newark, New Jersey, with our brother Trust Graham. That study group comes on every Friday. Brother True is on the Zoom. He can put the information on there. They will send you the information where you can log in, and they're doing the psychology of self-hatred and self-defeat toward the reclamation of the African mind. They do that every Friday, and Brother Trust is on the money. And when you think you know something, and listen to Brother Trust in the African Echoes group, Brother Danny and them, you really get a different opinion. And also on Saturdays, that Asbury Park crew, Trust Graham is also the media of that study group. The Know Thyself study group out of Asbury Park with Brother True and the gang out of Asbury Park. They're doing the destruction of black civilization with Chancellor Williams. Brother True is on, and he can put his information in the chat, and you can get all the information on that Saturday group. Comes on, I think, 1 or 1:30, and they be getting it on. Also, the Semotap organization with Dr. James McIntosh. You tune in to WBAI every Wednesday at 1:30 to 2 o'clock or 2 o'clock to 2:30. And Dr. McIntosh's radio program is Minefield. Excellent program on 99.5 WBAI. And if you go into Semotap website, Dr. McIntosh and Semotap will tell you the events that they have throughout their lecture class. So, we have one more, the Community Cop with Brother Mike Graves, Noel Leader, and Julian Harper. That comes on every Tuesday at 5 o'clock on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. You tune in to Community Cop. You can view all of the Community Cop programs on YouTube under Community Cop. And you also can view all the lectures from the Brooklyn William Mackey Jr. History Club on YouTube. You just go into YouTube and you put in BK William Mackey Jr. History Club. So we have these events for the community to do their own work and learn. Now, I want to say Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas for whatever you celebrate. Today's is Umoja, and this is the meaning of it. Collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. If we could do at least one of the 7 principles, we'd be all right people. So without further ado, family, I want to thank one of our members, Brother Raji. He's a bad man, for telling me I got a sister, Ray, that wants to do Mackey's, and she's a whiz on economics. She knows her thing. Can you put her on? And I said, no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, she can tell you more about what she's doing than I can. I want you to give a great big hand to our sister, and her topic is economic freedom. Give yourself a big hand for Sister Reshonah. Reshonah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, wow, this is a pleasure. This is a pleasure. Hello, everyone. To my Zoom family, to my family here, I welcome you. This is a powerful day. What is the odds that I'm standing here right now at the BK William Jr. Book Club on the 28th, which is a day of Ujima, right? Collective work and responsibility. And that actually means that it's for us collectively to build together and take on each other's responsibility and challenges. This is a perfect day because what is missing from us to actually elevate is actually unity. And history has shown many times that we have done well when we work together. So we must bring that back. So once again, I am in complete gratitude. And before we start, yes, I am Reshonah Bennett. A pleasure to be here. I will say in a 2 minute. And grateful. I'm a financial healer, amongst other things that continue to grow and elevate through my journey. But before we start, I think it's important that we take time to do some breath work together, to find groundedness, and also to be in complete gratitude. Because we didn't have to wake up this morning. We didn't have to walk, right? The ability to think and to move And we know there are things happening outside, but we don't have to focus on that because we can move in positivity. So let's do some breath work. This is going to be 3 levels of breath, and we're going to take in some positive, intentions, and then we release it. And then I can begin to share my story and get deeper into Greek economics, but really hone on to the solution to really finding financial independence of 2023. Okay? So it's very simple, right? You can stand up, you can sit down, whatever's easy for you. We're going to breathe through the nose, we're going to hold, and then we're going to release. We're going to do that 3 times. And as we're breathing, think about the intentions, whether knowing that you're worthy and you're prosperous, okay? So we're going to do this 3 times. First time, you ready? Breathe into the nose. Hold it for 10 counts. And know that you are all worthy and all prosperous. So you guys are ready? Because I am, and I'm, again, honored to be here. I want to give thanks, first and foremost, because my journey really started when I really reflect on how I actually got here, right? Being birthed by my mother and my father, Miriam Bennett, as she is an ancestor with me today, and my father. And my paternal and maternal parents, Eddie Bennett and Odell Bennett, Christina Hutchison. And I say that because you don't realize your journey until you reflect to realize you've been birthed to what you're actually doing now. And I've been asked to step in this path. When I reflect, my grandpa was in the Vietnam War, but after he left the war, he was born in 1928, and he was from Plant City, Florida. But for him, he wasn't trying to pick no cotton or pick no oranges, okay? He said to his woman, Odell Berry, that I'm gonna go to New York and I'm gonna create a family, but I'm gonna create a business. Because in Florida, he was a tailor. And he sold all the men's suits that they would go and hang out and dance and party. But he also, as anyone know about moonshine, also created some moonshine, and he sold that too. So that's kind of the start of like, who am I? I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a, investor, something in my blood. When he came to New York, he opened up 2 shops in Crown Heights, Eddie's Taylor Custom Tailor Shop, okay? Which I happened to have worked at when I was younger to get my first experience. Odell Berry, her contribution to where I am about financial healing is that through her time as a person who was a secretary and very into beauty, she knew the importance of investing. So later on, before she transitioned, my mother and I found stocks in Boeing and in Skywalk, which is a semiconductor stock. What's the odds of that, right? And my mom, teacher, humanitarian, she played her numbers, because I had to play them for her, at the corner shop. And the numbers, not just from the machine, but the ones that you have to go in the back of the machine with the numbers, and you're looking at the numbers on paper and you're playing them. All that counts and substitutes for who I am today. But she always believed in me, and she always said, Shone, what you up to? Because at 14, I started my own hair business, braiding hair at my best friend's house. Later on, to sell products at the Labor Day Parade, selling shots and getting my wholesale products for like half of the price to resell them to sell it for double the price, right? But my mom had an eye for numbers, and she would watch Bloomberg and all the stock markets literally every day. And she finally, because of my grandfather's passion to come to the United States to sustain generational wealth, to provide for his family, right? He knew the importance of insurance. And I know when we get to that time in the 1920s, how important it was in the 1950s, the Booker T. Washington, right? That he brought that into our family. So at 14, I had life insurance. And I didn't know that I was going to be able to use that to help with me when I invested in homes. You see the story that I'm coming with? A lot of things that we are doing now is because it was open and paved the way from generations to generations in the past. So it's our importance to sustain it and move forward to sustain the generations to come. So with that being said, with all my teachings, not realizing it, what changed my life, knowing that I say serial entrepreneur, creator, right? Person who loves investing. I got a chance to tour because I love dancing. And I was in college, I have a BS in science at FIT. And my mom and my professor said, you should travel because that's the best education you're ever going to have. I traveled for 3 years with a professional Caribbean singer, and that changed my mindset, my ability to think of how I wanted to be free, but how I also like to inspire and how I want to contribute. When I came back, it was game over because I had the insight now to create, to build, to create my own business. And so my journey began. Literally after I graduated college, I started basically a fashion line, right? And sometimes we start businesses and they succeed and sometimes they don't, but it was my homework to be free and to inspire, to do what I want, when I want, and how I want, right? And so as years passed, 2006, 2007, I realized that I was kind of good in business and entrepreneurship. And that came from my grandfather, right? And my mother supported me. And I got into a place where in 2012, I was working in health insurance and I'm passionate about helping people. But something was dying inside of me. How many of you guys been in a place, a job or career, you're like, I'm dying. I'm not living my best life. Something's missing. I was at that point. And I knew I had investments. I was doing multi-level marketing. I was doing Mona V, Quick Start. But something was missing because I was doing that while working at Affinity and I was traveling, seeing the world and seeing people changing other people's lives. And I was like, I'm at Affinity helping, but I'm not also controlling my life, right? And so 2012 was the best day ever. Why? Because they let me go. And when they let me go, I had to sit with myself and figure out what is it that I needed to do. How do I climb out of this? Well, here's how another beautiful spirit came into my life. And I'm thanking my ancestors, Christina Hutchinson, which is from my dad's side, who came from Trinidad in 1945 and brought a limestone. She was an entrepreneur. She had every hustle you could think about, but she had that house on Union Street, which was my first apartment that I lived at. But her owning that property and me letting go, I didn't know that I had to help her save her house. I was called to do things that I didn't even know was in me to do that had to do with sustaining wealth and building wealth and owning. I had no idea, but it was in me. So at 23, because I'm going to come back to that story, because everything that I've been doing has been divine. It's been a divine journey. At 23, mother came to me and said, you got to go to California, and you got to go sell your grandma's house. Woo! I'm the only child, by the way, so obviously it was me, right? And I suck it up, and at the time, those big white computers with the green writing, right, if we would have knew then, right, and made those investments, ooh, how many of us would be on the beach right now, right? But I had to find the right realtor that would help to assist to sell my mother's home, my grandmother's, home, to bring her here, who was suffering a little bit from dementia. That was my introduction to how much strength and power I have when I didn't think I did. But I had to do it. I was called to do it. So I was in California for a whole month, found the right realtor, sold my grandmother's house at 23 and brought her back. And with the proceeds that she had, she gave it to church and she made some investments. And she had life insurance. You see the story where it's going? She was about sustaining that wealth, that financial independence, right? After 23, my grandmother, age 26, I didn't know I had to help her. Who came to me? And believe me, I have 8 siblings on my father's side. He said, Reshonah, my mom is losing her house. Union Street, can you help us? Why me? And sometimes you shouldn't always ask, why me? But something was called. Again, I had to find a way to help my paternal grandmother save her house. Because she came here from 1945 with the American dream. How many of us have that American dream, and ancestors in our families had that American dream, right? There's no way I could have her lose that. So I took my knowledge from when I was 23 And I asked the universe to guide me with the right people because I knew someone at the time, Sean, who was doing flipping houses and had houses all in Best Eye and Bainbridge. And I was working at Nordstrom at the time, and his sister walked in the shop. And I said, oh my God, I need you. My grandma's living in her house. I need your brother's powers. He has the knowledge. She said, say no more. I got you. You see when you focus on your called on and you ask for the Most High to guide you, it comes. It's no it's how. It'll happen. Right? I got the tools that I needed. I got the person to assist me. And my grandmother, who said to me, because she was ill, she said, Reshonah, they're taking my house. You got to save it. It hit home. Because whatever God knew, he knew that I had it in me, even when I didn't know that I did. And I had to perform. Because in my head, I had to perform for legacy, for generations. So I went to grandma, I said, don't worry, Granny. I ain't gonna stay at your house. You gonna be all right? And let me tell you, when God provides, he provides the tools and the information and the people needed to get you there. Greetings, brother. And let me tell you, we saved that house, and that was my first house that I ever had. Limestone. Because after a week we closed the deal, my grandmother transitioned. So I know I served my purpose. One of my purposes, the many that I will learn later on in my journey. And so we saved the house, and it wasn't easy because I had to go to bankruptcy court, stop the bankruptcy, and now I have a beautiful house. And I have to work on sustaining it and build my family. My mom helped me with that. So again, the patterns, the setup, to my passion to being a serial entrepreneur, an investor, and living to inspire. Well, now that I had that beautiful home, I think I was in that home for about 10 years. My mom got ill, and with the money that we had, I lived in there for 10 years. I had my son. But guess what? Have anyone ever heard of having a house and being house poor? Man, listen. I had a big old limestone. It was probably worth the time, 400-some-thousand, but I was house poor. Something had to change to be done. My mom was a teacher. She was ready to retire. She was getting ill, and I had to get creative. And so I started getting into real estate. And when I got let go in 2012, I was like, I'm getting my real estate license because I'm already in it, divinely, right? And so me getting into real estate, me getting my license 10 years later, not realizing my mom got ill. And when I had a house, listen, if you have a house, it can be an asset or a liability. Do we know the difference?
Nope.
Liability is basically you just paying debt, just coming out your pocket. But when you're utilizing your home, it's an asset because it's bringing in money. It's bringing in something consistently. So I had to use that. I had college students living in a room. I had people from coming upstate who went to live, Brooklyn real estate and living upstairs. I used that house as an asset. I had someone renting downstairs in the basement. And we're going to get further into the time that we're living in now, which is a blessing because we have so much things that are liabilities that can be used as assets. And anyone has a car and driver eats, we're in a lucrative time, you know? And so I was able to use that, but it still got heavy because people lost their job, they couldn't maintain paying the rent. My mother was trying, tired of paying part of the mortgage, and she got sick. So I had to decide, do I sell after 2 years? And so I did. But here's the beauty, whether we got 7 figures, the beauty of it is that we were able to use that, me turning into my real estate agent into a real estate flipping business, right? Buying homes, low sell, going to auctions downtown. My mom was finally healthy in her best state at the time, and we were using the money to invest in my son, who was only about 10 at the time, right? Life insurance, wills and trusts, right? All the things that we need to sustain our generational wealth. This capital that came into our lives was able to be fruitful, right? And so after that, I became a flipper. I had the cash, and I let it sit in my account. You know why? I was going to use OPM. because your money should be always making money for you. So although in my account I had the numbers and I had the credit score, why would I use my money? So I got loans that allowed me to, in somewhat private loans and high interest loans, but I knew I had the right product. And once you have the right product, they're gonna throw you money. So I was able to start flipping houses in East New York and Best Side. We went to Jersey, went to Philly. And I'm not saying that I won them all because there was a lot of crashes, but I had a lot of success. And that started from the bottom up. Okay? So after that journey, because it still continues, getting emotional. 2017, you know, I was watching Million Dollar Listing. And I remember praying, God, you know, I have these investments and we're empowering people, but I need something new to come into my life to enhance this generational wealth, this investment, because I was feeling myself now, right? And Million Dollar Listing started talking about buying a house with Bitcoin. And sometimes we get messages, guys, but we don't listen. Like, no, that couldn't be true. But he told me this, don't ever go to anybody who's not going into the specific area that you're asking about. They will lead you wrong. That's how I love it. So, crypto, Bitcoin, buy a house. What is Bitcoin? Is this new technology? How do I figure this out? I walked out my house that day, and on the corner, a friend of mine said to me, I was looking for you. You gotta get in this call because we're talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. And I'm like, what? But do you see how you start putting things out there? How things start coming to you. If you're not ready for it, believe me, it'll leave the list. But if you're ready for it, and you're ready for change, don't worry about the how, it will come. Well, I got in that call, and I was shopping downtown at Century 21 for my son, and I was like, Ethereum, Web 3.0, IT, Bitcoin, I don't even know what they were saying, but let me tell you what I did know. Web 2.0, big computer, right? Because we're talking about all of the past that we are into it now, right? We're talking about 2017 I got in. But how many other series historically has happened with the evolution of technology, right? So sometimes you don't gotta know it all. You just gotta know the sign. And one thing that is constantly change, is constant, is change. And one thing that we know historically, we'll get into that, is the evolution of technology. And yes, we can get scared, but it's our savior sometimes, right? So when I heard that call, because I'm an investor, and I had a loaded account at that time, I took some things I was going to lose, and I made some investments. But those investments, I could tell you, when times were low and real estate wasn't really selling, I was still able to live and maintain my family. Because you got to think about the future. You got to think about the right tools to present to yourself to have that's sustainable, because it's not always going to be high. And that's timing. And I can't say at the time it was the right time in 2007. And I'll get into that further. But at that time, I explored something totally new. Being a woman of color, surrounded by men who were of salt, right? And who were Indian, who you never saw many black women in the tech field understanding this new technology. But I said to myself, I'm going to figure this out, because something inside of me said, and I only need to learn it, but I need to learn it from my family and my community. And I was willing to challenge myself. So I started looking at meetups. If you have any specific thing you want to learn, meetups are awesome. You'll network with people. And I went to meetups and I started listening and started listening to SEC and people on the panel, and I was like, oh, okay, so evolution technology, tokenization, and I started getting the lingo. But what they were talking about, that was consistent, that this technology would change, and for it to sustain itself, it has to deal with governance, attorneys approving it, traditional banks, the same stuff that we go through traditionally, right? When something is changing the atmosphere, something's changing historically. And so that got me excited, because I knew I was in the right place. Even though I didn't know what it quite was, I knew that technology evolves. So as I learned that, I got the opportunity with some friends that we networked with, that we met, I went to school with, and actually worked with at H&M, that we started a group called BK Crypto. And BK Crypto was just really a start to like a gathering here to educate and inform and empower the community of the new technologies coming in and how we can help and change our lives. And it was complimentary. It just was, we were just building up, and we started supporting black businesses, and we started meeting up and having guest speakers, and that grew. Even with the low, when it dipped in 2018, we were still passionately sharing the information because we knew in our hearts this was evolution, and there will be a golden age, which I'll talk about in 2023. We're in a golden age right now, about to start. And so that group grew into Discord and grew to us having our apparel line that's now going to help fund tech STEM projects and coding for girls and for boys, because technology is where it's at. And we need to know more of it for our community. And so my pits and falls, like I say, with my investment, I made 6 figures, I made 7 figures, but I also lost a lot, right? And a lot of that had to do with greed, timing, not dealing with the right partners, right? Because if you are doing a fair exchange, and we'll talk about the power of someone having the currency, the money to invest, versus in someone having a credit and you partner up, or someone having a skill set. But if you're just going on I'm passionate, I love him, I love her, more than likely is going to fail. To my experiences, and I have LLCs, and I've dissolved them. But some of those are my lessons. I've had accounts that I've invested where I should have pulled money out because you should always have profit. I didn't pull out in time, and I lost. But that didn't make me want to jump off the roof or anything, because once you have the knowledge and you have understanding, you just have to start all over sometimes and rebuild.
Sure.
Find your support team, your tribe that really gets you during those hard times, because it's not always going to be high, but if you prepare in time, you will be okay for the rebirth. And that rebirth sometimes is better than when you started, because you've learned your lessons and you proved it, right? And so passionately with my experiences, I am grateful because I'm here now to be able to share some of my failures and some of my wins. And my greatest wins, I can definitely say, is not only being a mother and being chosen, but to be able to have made the right investments that allowed me to be free to do what I want for over 10 years. Now things are dwindling because I'm invested in my son. He's into animation, but the knowledge and my passion to now continue to learn and to elevate so that I can create and sustain generational wealth, not just for myself, but my community. It's no mistake why I'm here. It's no mistake why I went through my journey, and I'm still learning, right? And before we go into understanding the powers that is happening now in front of us, because we're in one of the largest wealth transfer ever, the golden age, right? But let's kind of talk about where we were, because economics is really just a branch of knowledge that's really about the uses of product and consumption and transfer of wealth. So how are you and you are transferring that wealth? Not just you, but them and they and those after you. How are we planning? Right? Because a lot of it is really not for us. Because if I didn't really understand and reflect on my grandparents, they were planning. So I have to now continue as they pass me the baton. Right? And so I'm here to share those nuggets, but before, because a lot of it is propaganda in the news, and we have to cut it out. We gotta go within. Brother Arias, I quickly listened to his sermon. He talked about manifestation. We are in the time of manifestation. We are cosmic beings. We are galactic. And we have to regenerate. Because in our DNA, we hold so much information and power. We have to turn off the tell-I vision. Because it's lies. And what it does is what it's supposed to do. Create fear. So anything that comes to you that is new or something that you're not used to, your automatic response is, no, this can't do it because they said that. Who said that? Do you know why? Who's the master that be? Who is the head? Who owns the television? You gotta think. And being in this space, I realize a lot of it, all of it, let's be honest, is a game. So let's reflect back on the amazing times that we went through as people of color, African Americans, right? Where we were so empowered because we were together and unified. The Roaring Twenties, right? Harlem Renaissance. We were in a good time. And what was happening then? That shift of what? What was happening then? Right? Technology, automobiles, the steel, right? We had jobs. We had places, because at the end of the day, all we wanted to do was provide, right? Have the right home, an opportunity to be free and enjoy what we do. Music and dance and poetry. It's in our rhythm. It's in our DNA. Even when we couldn't get the medicine, we were the medicine because we are the medicine. We have to go back.
That's right, that's right.
We're the medicine. What does Big Pharma use? Oh, I'm going to use a tip of tea tree and everything else is drugs. Why is that? For Roaring Twenties, right? Which was combined with the same thing as the Great Migration and the Civil Rights Movement and Jim Crow, right? With during that time, what was happening? Booker T. Washington, 1905, Boston. The Black Negro League, right? For businesses. We had the most businesses, over 10,000 businesses, because they didn't want us to be a part of this. Okay, because when we are together, we create and we build in ripples. And those chapters from 320 in 1905 to 1915 to 600 chapters over 34 states, come on, give yourself a hand. Because it still exists, and it's existing still today to teach financial literacy, economics, and helping Black businesses. We gotta go back to what we know. Whether you were a farmer, a crop owner, it doesn't matter, it's in you. The biggest business that we had was insurance in those times, right? So not only was it insuring commercial businesses, but it was insuring people who were passing away, because we were funeral owners. We were retailers, bankers, real estate agents, right? Yeah. And that sustained our community until, the Great Depression had happened. But let's think about what was happening before that. Because everyone was affected when it was a Great Depression, a crash, and a stock market crash. Everyone was affected. The crash of the dollar bills, which we know was no longer backed by the gold. Because there wasn't enough gold to back it, because they need to keep printing money. Again, right? Cycles, it's all the same. Isn't it happening now? Start counting the dollars. It's happening now, just in a different time. But it doesn't mean we can't win. Right?
That's right, that's right.
Right? So then you have in the Jim Crow laws and the Civil Rights laws in 1950. Yes, baby boomers, right? In that time, right after the war, we still was about our family, providing and jobs, right? We found a way, despite, we can go into that, but I'm here to empower, because we know enough that kept us down. What are the tools that can empower us to get ahead for this financial freedom in 2023? Because we're in a different earth right now. I don't know if you felt it, but we're in a different earth. And it's amazing, despite what the television is sharing. You be your television and look within. Because I'm telling you, in the spirits and your end, the finances, God has something to say. Stop getting distracted. Okay? Stop getting distracted. When it happens to us both, please, I can tell you, my jewelry mind goes all over the place. But I'm thankful when I can get it back. Talk to myself. Ooh, you got work to do. Shut it up. Stop the noise. Sit in the dark. Meditate. Right? So then we're here in the 1950s into the 1970s, and we still have businesses. But look what's happening in the 1970s. We were getting government funding for our businesses. Right? It's happening now. Grants are over the SBA loans. Yo, if I tell you the amount of money I got from the SBA for my companies and start and loan, because I knew how to prepare myself with the right LLCs, business credit, personal credit, get into scope, because all it is we have to study the system that we reside in. We are the system, we are the technology, but then outside of us, are we studying how to elevate? Or are we staying suppressed and in victim mode? Always solutions, and history has always been that, right? So we get into the 80s and the crack and the wars and the guns and the communities, blah, 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 blah. Yes, I'm not disowning that. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that there was always opportunity. And in that time, if you were aware, because my grandpa had a store, but he didn't buy the brownstones that were available for $1. Anybody on Zoom right here bought the brownstones for $1 in the community because the city was like, oh, we're overwhelmed. These properties are condemned. I don't want to deal with them. But that was an opportunity. $1. And if you knew about co-ops, because I remember when I owned one, they were offering $250 per share to own an apartment because they didn't want to deal with it. But now they're coming back and taking it. Why? Because Brooklyn's hot. Watch the money. Follow the money. So now they're throwing us out. Our senior citizens are, not only citizens, but us as a people are hurting from that. But because we don't have a plan, right? There goes that plan again. What's our plan? So now that we did the 20s, to the 30s, to the 50s, and the 70s, it's been beautiful. The 90s are beautiful, but 2000 was hot, right? Because everyone thought the world's gonna end. I can't stop listening to the television and crazy people. And all the things we talked about just now, and the history that we all know, if any crisis or disaster, statistics shows that there were more businesses created and made during crises and depressions. Do you hear me? So while everyone's thinking they're dying and selling off their stocks and any investment they have because they heard that it's the end of the world, people were capitalizing off of it. Again, you know what that means? We gotta stop listening to the television and follow the money. Follow the money. So 2000s hit, and what happened with 2000? Evolution again, technology. Do you see my pattern? The evolution again of technology. Because at the end of the day, whoever had a flip phone has a smartphone now. Because my mama did before she transitioned. She couldn't wait. She's like, show my fat fingers can't deal with this flip phone anymore. I think I'm gonna need a smartphone. She wanted to be in style, 70 years old, but you know what? Why not? She worked for it. She was a teacher, giving back to the community. But 2000 hit, and we had the .com, e-commerce, the phones, right? When's the last time you put a quarter in a booth, right? But did anybody here or on Zoom take advantage of the shift?
Nope.
The Facebooks, the Amazons, the Googles, the Microsofts. I'm not making that technology. I know what it is. Oh no, I don't know. But the truth is, when you make investments in stocks, you should be investing in companies that you use. How do you think they build wealth? If you wear Nike all the time, why are you not buying your kid a Nike stocks? So they can use it in the future, because once you step off, it's no longer profitable anymore. Like a car. It loses value. It's state of mind, and it's okay because we've all made that mistake, but the present is now. That's my point. So you had the .coms and e-commerce, and yeah, it was the bubble, right? Because we had, in 2008, we had the housing bubble, right? The Lehman Brothers, and we had the Argents, and we had the Countrywide, because I was in it. But let me tell you what was happening in 2008. 2009 was ruined. The shift of the monetary system, y'all wasn't aware of that, right? Because remember, they planned decades ahead of what they're about to present to you in propaganda. That shift, right? 20 years in, you can Google stuff now, they can teach you that they were preparing, right? But the greatest shift, in 2009, 2008, 2009, you had a new type of currency, a new type of technology, blockchain. And in that same crash with Lehman Brothers and the bailouts, you had something brewing that is going to affect us now. This is in 2023, that transformational, the golden age, right? Because the creator, who we don't really know who he is or what it is, Satoshi Nakamoto, created this new blockchain system, right? And what is blockchain, right? Some people are like, what is this confusing? If you know anything about a ledger, you know, a ledger is a place where you compile information and take data, information, and record, right? What you're doing is manually. Anyone does book records, the bank does it. This is why in their system they double dip. This is why you can't trust, because they double dipping. But in a blockchain, it's created to help to minimize and alleviate that from happening. So it records transactions, it records assets, and now they're using it for medical information and data, right? And at the same time, on that blockchain, they created an asset, a digital asset that can be utilized, which is Bitcoin, right? And that was showing up with all the crisis. No one heard it. So if you was a geek or you was with video gamers and knew about it early, you were good. I didn't get into 2017, but it still was $100 for a coin versus it being at the high 60K to the low now about 16K. But again, the start, the entry, to seeing the shift, being aware that something was happening, right? And so as we go through that transformation and the changing of our financial system, that's forever changed, we're now in this space, right? And as we talked about the dot-coms and now we move into the web ones, right? Because you think about how we communicate, even through long distance now, we can connect because the web one was about just the email, right? Just the communication. Web two was about being able to record and to watch movies and videos, right? It advanced from that email. You can send information back and forth with pictures. And Web 3, which is coming up now, which is practically here, gives you access of content ownership. Because again, why are people mad at Facebook? Because they own our data.
Right.
They own our information. And to be honest with you, the information that we give now, we should own it. We should be compensated for our information, right? Well, that's what Web 3.0 is about. You owning your content and also pay, right? So we talked about a lot. And now that we're in the golden age, and we talked about crisis, and we talked about the evolution of technology, I want to stay there. Because that evolution of technology is our birthright to our financial freedom. It's stepping into the largest transfer of wealth. Let me give you some stats. 41% of African Americans and Latinos make under $25,000. That's a lot, right? Under $25,000. In 2016, the average folks, Caucasian folks, made over 100K, but they still are living check to check, right? Because we're dealing with inflation. But also, other properties also are counted with that. Statistics shows that $68 trillion, which would be the largest wealth transfer from the baby boomers, will be passed in the next 25 years. Statistics state that African Americans won't be a part of that wealth transfer. And let me tell you why. Simple things. Not having a will, a trust, life insurance. How could you transfer wealth if you don't have the tools? Because if you've ever been served in court, oh my God. By the time you get through, you might be dead. 68 trillion by the hands, the foot, the eyes. How many of you want to be a part of that? 1%, even 2%, because 1%, 2%, 3% is something better than nothing. That's again changing the mindset. We have to change our mindset. Oh, I want 100%. I ain't getting that. Deal's done. Deal's done. But if you look at white America and how they do business, most of their thing is done in percentages, whether it's 1% or 2% of $1 million, $200,000. Is that the most you ever get, you ever had? We gotta think smart here. If I can tell you the biggest mistake that I had when I bought my properties and I flipped it, and I had a discussion with my partners from BK Crypto. It's strategizing, right? But it's sustaining passive income. I'll tell you why. I live in a beautiful Hasidic neighborhood, right? Shalom, Total Rabah, Reshonah, Rikola, right? And let me tell you, they come together. You might not agree with them, but they have sustainable wealth. Why? Because they're building units. They're building buildings. And my friend who has a house, we were discussing, if we knew better, even when I flipped my home and sold them, we would have made a deal where whether, Eric after the time, because my friend did it, was his property he had, what did he have? Lots. And he presented a deal with the developer that allowed him to get a certain percentage, but they would build units on top of his lots. And Eric Adams, I think, presented him with $250,000 to be part of that. They got money to give you. Come up with an idea. So if I would have thought back then, I would have probably made a deal like that, where I'm building condos or affordable housing and let the government pay. I'm supporting the community. But you know what I would have done for me and my family? Sustainable passive income. Because you can get $3 million, if you don't have a plan, it's not going to be good for nothing the next year or 2 years. How about 6 months for some people? Lesson, passive income. And if you only have one stream of income, that is a no-no. You need to have 7 or more, several streams. Several streams of income to sustain where we are today. Even thinking about what do you want to do? How do you want to live? What's your passion? Let's turn work into passion play. Because again, it sets the tone and the mood and the mindset. Because the average person who's like, I'm retiring, croaks and dies. That has to stop. We have to do something new. It's like running that rat race over and over again. When do we stop and say it's enough? We have people rooting for us. And we have to do better. So what does that look like? What is the solution for us to have financial independence? What is the solution for us to build wealth, generational wealth, and sustain it? And a lot of it is really basic. But I tell you, one thing to start with is the mind.
That's right.
You have to shift the mind. I can't tell any of this to you and your mind is not shifted. It will do no justice for you. You'll end up doing the same thing you do every day. Ujima, why are we here? Collective work responsibility. Are we living that way? Because I can tell you this way, living in a city community and going on our history, we made it prosperous when we were together. Independence, pew, pew, it doesn't work. And I know it's trust and other things, but let's not harp on that because we're in a new age, a new time, a new earth. Collective collaboration. Find your partners, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. Isn't it a Bible scripture that states that 2 or more with the like minds? How did I get this far? Not by myself. You heard I had a team. And now they are our ancestors. But let me tell you, I have partners here. And we have lessons, but we are still a team. We're still a tribe. And we're like, on to the next. Let's get creative. Who can we partner with? This is the best solution. So what are some of the solutions, right? Number 1, how do we take a part of the $60 trillion we'll have in the next 25 years? How many of us have a will? I ain't getting no will. I ain't taking care of Susan. I ain't tip, baby. I ain't doing that. They can do it themselves. How do you live a legacy? Because when you look at history, all we knew about was insurances. Maybe you forgot. My grandpa had insurance. And yes, he was 129, but that insurance that I got at 14 helped me to flip my house because I had a whole life cash value that was worth $10,000. And that helped me fix my home because I was my own banker. Okay? So you got your will in place, right? You got your trust. It's kind of extra protection when your will is not doing what's supposed to because the trust is stronger than the will. Right? How about those who maybe work for someone, which is fine, but creating an LLC? Because if anyone learned anything from the COVID pandemic, who were they bailing out?
Business.
What? Say it loud, please. Businesses. So why aren't you a business and a corporation? Because if you can look in that amendment in the Constitution, and I don't want to get into that, it's another conversation about corporations, but you must be a corporation to benefit in the system. Did I not say through history that we were entrepreneurs and had businesses? And no one's saying you can't have your passion jobs, a doctor, a lawyer, a healer. I'm saying that to benefit. As we move in this golden age, we must be incorporated to have the benefits of the money that they're giving out to help build, from the grants that they're giving out, from the SBA loans. I mean, do you know that they have celebrities now that are literally talking about they're helping the minorities now with their businesses? I tried one with, what's the short man's name, comedian? Kevin Hart. There is opportunity like nobody's business right now. There is opportunity like nobody's business right now. And why, again, evolution of technology. Social income, I'll tell you right now. How many of you have a car? When did you ever have Uber Eats, Uber deliveries, Amazon? I've never been, listen. I've met firefighters driving Ubers because their goal was to own more property and land. Even having a bike, even a skateboard. And I'm being facetious, but I'm really being serious. You can get paid. How many of you are creative? Do you know y'all that has something called a KDP Amazon account? Kindle development platform, which will allow you to either, create a cover, a book cover, and get paid for it, or create a novel as a ghostwriter. Online businesses is amazing. Because if you're not finding ways to do passive income in this time and sleeping while making money, that's a problem. Technology is your best friend. And I know it can be scary, but it's always a way. Another way, right? This is also tied with technology, investing, several streams of income, right? How many of you are good writers, right? You can write resumes, people's reports. I mean, I've hired someone to revamp my LinkedIn profile and my resume, and I paid them. But again, I'm circulating the money back in the community. Because what statistics say? Our money don't stay long in our community. That's right. Right? That has to change. I mean, you can find anything that you're passionate about, someone's willing to pay online. Literally. I mean, literally. I mean, I'm gonna be funny right now, but if you have pretty feet, there are people who have fetishes, and they're getting paid to take a picture with their toes. Right? There's no excuse to help to build generational wealth, and when you get the extra money, tell you what you can do with it. Stocks, investments, ETFs, right? Electronic trading funds, right? The major companies that you love, look at their stock portfolio. Make an investment, and it doesn't have to be the name, the thought is, oh, I don't have the money. Do you know that I pay myself first, no matter what I bring in, because of certain rules that I follow when I tell my clients the 50-30-20 rule, or the old envelope rule? Remember the old envelope rule where you put the note on the bills you gotta pay and whatever that's called miscellaneous, right? Go back to basics, because that change, you're gonna utilize to now increase your wealth. They got $5 stocks. I mean, to be honest, stocks are fractional now. You don't even have to buy a whole one. But if you invested $5 in a fractional stock of owning a percentage of a share of Apple stock, and we're at its low right now because, again, I'm going to get into that too, but they pushed that down for a reason because big folks don't like to pay high. They want to pay low. But they got you thinking through propaganda that there's a crisis. It's Black Friday, guys. Start going shopping. It's going to change your life. So if I'm now taking my $5 and I say, you know what, I'm going to put it in Apple because it's low now, and that $5 turns to $6, would that do the same thing in your bank account? Are you going to double your bank having $5 in your account? No, you won't. The bank index is negative 0.6. They're taking your money and they're trading with it. So if you have $5 and you put it in the stock and it's growing, It's better than you sitting in your account because your money's supposed to grow. Money is just an exchange of an asset to buy goods and services. It's simple. So I'm going to go back to the investment, but I want to go back to understanding the evolution, right? And more so money, because I know when I get into crypto and blockchain, I know people are nervous about it, but I'm going to show you with my example, the evolution of technology with money. Don't be afraid. So let's look at the evolution of money. I said it was basically a currency, it's an energy for an asset to exchange goods and services, right? When we started, we exchanged for, if I wanted this book, I would give you salt. And if you felt that it was an asset, we would take it in exchange, right? At one point we used cattle, right? See where I'm going? Then we had large bars of gold. But as things started changing, who could travel with a bar of gold? Right? They had to minimize it. So you had your gold coins, right? Are you following me here with evolution? Because I want to break it so layman that you don't miss out. Because this mind sometimes could trick you. But were you still able to buy the things that you need every time it evolved? Yes. Right? Who remembers, because I don't know if I remember, but the Diners Club card. The Diners Club card,
Right.
one of the first credit cards, it was plastic. But inside of that plastic would allow you to purchase something, right? That was actually digital, you know.
Yeah.
It was digital. Cha-ching, swipe. Right? And then as that evolved, we started getting to digital money, right? Which we technically have been zero and ones forever, right? They've been using that old system for a long time, but it's what we know it to be. So we have our what? Our Zells, our Cash Apps. Yeah, you might could press a button, but isn't it still digital?
Yep.
It's saying you have a certain amount that even sometimes it might not be there, but it's still past the transaction go through, right? And then we have this evolution of cryptocurrency, big B, Bitcoin. And again, what is that? It's a digital asset that allows you to purchase things. Yeah, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, but is that the same thing dealing with Cash App and Zelle? Yeah, it's digital. You might feel your phone doing but I can do my transaction right here on all my wallets and I can purchase something. I can be in a place where they take my gold, and it happened with the price recently, where they took, I don't know if he was the prime minister, they took all of his assets. But you know what he had on his phone? Cryptocurrency. Google some of those stories. I'm not saying it's the all end all. What I'm saying is be prepared to have some solutions. I'm saying to have several streams. Why you get hit and it hurts? Because you have all in one basket. That's the problem. There are too many resources and sources out here to make those smart investments. But back to Bitcoin, right? If you follow what I said is the evolution of technology. And as you know right now, the World Forum, the IMF, they're crashing. Why do they crash all the time? Because they need the benefits. But you, the people, are thinking, oh my God, the world's going to hit the crisis. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Follow history. Don't panic. Breathe. I guarantee you find a solution. They want you to be scared. Why do you think they're always plugging it on the TV? Because when they say, do you remember? I remember when I was investing, Jamie Dimon, and Google this. Jamie Dimon was like, I would never invest in Bitcoin, it's not real, right? Now, meanwhile, you're the secret clubs that they have, right? Citibank, Bank of America, there's a club. They talk about what's happening already. But something happened in 2018, 2019 when he made a press release and stated, I was wrong. Do you think he just started investing when he made that statement, I was wrong? Do you think Jamie Dimon, when he said I was wrong in 2019, that Bitcoin is real money, that he just started investing? No. Chase, do you know the history of their family? You think he just started? But to the people, because they're going to control you, they're going to scare you. So what is happening now, to be honest? Yeah, there's some things happening, but I'm going to tell you what's happening. I came in as a retailer, and no banks, no private management companies were involved. It was you and I involved, and the numbers were fabulous. But when they realize, oh my God, this system is changing and we need to control it, what do? Go back to history. It's really all the same, just a different product. They scare you. And so you sell your portfolio, you sell your portfolio, and they're like, yes! Oh, Bitcoin is amazing. Crypto is amazing. This stock, oh yes, because they had to get it on the Black Friday sale. Follow the money. Okay? Follow, I'm telling you. And I lost, but I know the bigger picture. Right? So yes, we talked about these things of the solution and where we are with crypto and Bitcoin. And now it's not just Bitcoin, it's Ethereum. You look at Bitcoin and Ethereum to be your gold and your silver, right? And then you have your cross-border payments where, again, we had an old system, Swiss, right? And Swiss was that banking system where we transfer money, it might take a week to pass. So what technology is doing now when you transfer money to Japan, to even you sending money to Nigeria or sending money to Guyana or Trinidad, it gets there in seconds. That's why this technology, this is important. You can connect quicker with those who need support or help. But in the larger scope of things, in the banking system, using XRP or other things in the iOS 2022, they're able to use the transfer of $6 billion quicker with the technology, with the blockchain. It's evolution, and we don't have to be scared. And there are people to guide you, as myself. But let's not miss up on this golden chance of the largest wealth transfer because we're dealing with scare tactics and we're not looking to work in collaboration in groups to build, right? How do we get our land? How do we deal with improving our credit report? That's our bloodline. The system that we live in today with America is called capitalism and credit. And credit basically you don't have, but you can have using debt. Voila, I'm a product of it. And although my score was at 7 something and I built business credit, these are the tools that they use. You and you and you and you can all have it. It's not hard. We gotta be smart. We gotta get those bills in check, right? Those trusts, those LLCs, life insurance. Let me tell you, life insurance has been a savior for me because when it's down sometimes, I have my own bank. So you remember, what's her name? Susie Orman.
Right.
She sold, oh, term life, term life, term life. It's the greatest thing ever. But watch what they say. No, not watch what they say, watch what they do. Not what they say. Term is for living dead. You get what I'm saying to you? Term is for the living dead. Whole life, look at the word whole, in a sense. It allows you to live and provide for your children or your family. Whole life has a cash value, and that cash value is your bank. You can borrow against yourself. So say that you bought a life policy for a certain amount of money, and the cash value went up to about $30,000. You want to pay buy a car. Now, would you get the loan, or would you go into cash value? But here's strategy. What you can do. You can get the loan, and then you go into your bank and be like, I need to take out 15 grand to pay up that loan, right? Because your interest on your whole life is probably about 4.5%. And here's the thing, you don't even gotta pay it back. It just deducts your whole life policy. Tell me that ain't right. Who don't want to be a bank or their own bank? There are strategies, and we can do this together. But we have to have an open mind and work in community. And I'm a living product because my life insurance has saved me many of times. For my son, for my mom, for my investments, for flipping houses, for fixing them up. Because the interest rate is so low. Do you ever see the interest rate on a credit card lately? The APR?
18%.
They raping you. 28%. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a plan, you can use the credit cards if you're going to get some cash back to pay back. It's always solutions. So I know I've talked a lot because I am excited. But 2023 is going to be the largest wealth transfer ever. It's the golden age. And we have to prepare ourselves in order to be part of that wealth transfer. And that wealth transfer it's not just us. It's those we love. And who they love. Right? It's important. It's important to prepare ourselves in the right tools, the right systems, the right community, the right partners, the right information and knowledge. But the biggest thing to do is knowledge is not worth anything if we don't apply it.
That's right.
It's not worth anything if we don't apply it. So we must apply the knowledge and make changes. It doesn't have to be a leap. It could be a gradual change. You know, I want to leave you with something before we go into Q&A. And Billy Carson, I love him. I watch his videos all the time. But he said, we must not allow them anymore to use our dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol for currency. Sit with that for a minute. Google the words, what they mean. Dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol. Because anything that can build and elevate you is currency. And when they present propaganda and scare tactics, which creates stress, right? And it is happiness. Those are the homes they play with. And we have to change that and just own it. We must turn off the television. I'm in gratitude for even being here. And sometimes those are words. But let's continue as a community and build and inform and educate and share. One step at a time, one day at a time. And reflect of who you, if you forgot who you were, sit down and ask, because I guarantee you, you're the technology and it's all in you. So let's manifest 2023 financial freedom. Ashe. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Give her a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, first thing we're going to do now, we're going to go into question and answer. The first question will be from the Zoom audience. If you have a question, ask your question right now from the Zoom. First question. Question. Anybody from the Zoom audience have a question? Okay, going once, going twice, going 3 times, that's a wrap.
Can you hear it? Yes.
Anybody got a question on the Zoom? Okay, the next question is going to be from the floor. Anybody from the floor have a question? Brother Rod.
How are they using your serotonin, cortisol, and that other thing? Dopamine as currency.
Because when they provide scare tactics and propaganda, they create the stresses and the happiness of which these hormones create. And so it changes your mindset. And when your mindset is changed, they build from it. They get you to think you need more pills. They get you to think you need to sell your crypto, your stocks. They get you to think that we're in a pandemic. They're becoming wealthy off of you.
Fear.
Using these tactics. And those are the things that affect the hormones.
Okay. Zoom audience. Anybody from the Zoom audience got a question? Going once? Going twice? Question from the Zoom audience. Okay, we're going from the floor. Anybody from the floor have a question? Brother Mike.
Yes, can you explain the difference in the trust and the will?
Sure. So a will is just basically a transfer stating that I, Reshonah, gives this water to my son, right? It's not so in-depth. But a trust is a more in-depth document that in detail protects you and others from taking your assets. So it's a more in-depth formula of protecting your assets than a will. A lot of times in circuit court, some people still have problems with their will, and certain information that is not recorded causes problems. But that trust is an extra layer of protection, of more detail of specifying things that need to be given from your home. A home, for instance, even cryptocurrency, that a will really doesn't have that strength, if that makes sense, to sustain the transfer. It's a more solid way of transferring wealth without them getting into your business, so to say, in a way that makes sense.
Well, what would an example of a trust be that would show the difference, that would make it distinct from
It's more detailed. Like, for instance, your will can still be argumentative, right? And in a will, like even with cryptocurrency, a lot of times most people take, it's an extra protection. So most people would take their cryptocurrency, their house, their business, and they would put it in their trust to transfer.
The trust protects you a little bit better.
Yeah, it protects you better.
Right.
It protects you better. So you have a revocable trust, this type of trust. It just protects you better than a will. And it's more detailed, but it's several different types of trust. And I know depending on independence needs, you basically, like some people now are doing retirement trust, irrevocable trust, that's also having more control of your assets, more control of your investments, more control of your transfer, even your property, because a lot of it's kind of like, what's the saying? You own everything. No.
Own nothing, control everything.
Own nothing, control everything. So that trust is that makes sense. And I know in the mindset people are like, what? But it's better because they can't come up to you.
So basically, one of the trusts that balances out a will is a trust called a living trust. Right. So when you die, it's like you're still talking to the public. With a will, like some of us don't have the same last name as a parent or a father that died or someone who's married. So when you have a will, you may be, Craig Smith, but, your daughter may be Janice Dickerson. So now Janice got to go to court and prove that she's the daughter of Craig Smith. And then she's got to bring all that stuff. Now that takes time. As that goes, the city or the municipality starts taking money from your assets to educate the process of you getting your cousin's money. With a living trust, it's like,
You're saying this is what I want to happen.
absolutely.
You're
Even
saying-
if you give her $5, give her
You're still
$20,
living,
give this,
Right.
don't give Sabrina nothing, and boom, 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 boom. And they can't fight it because it's a trust.
Right.
And a trust also, it protects, well, you're living and you're making out, it protects your assets in a lot of ways from the government,
The government,
IRS.
100%, yeah.
It
And you'll
protects,
protect
there's
you.
different
My mom-
ones, but it protects your assets. So I hate to use it as an example, but so this is my brother Mayray, and he goes, I want this trust and I want my daughter to get this, I want my son to get that, I want my wife to get that. It protects your assets, because if you die without one, that's a problem right there. I have one.
A trust is stronger than a will.
Yeah, right. So I have one because I had to make sure when certain things happened in my life, I had to change things around. So I had to make sure that if something did happen to me, I had to make sure that the person whose name I was putting down there wasn't gonna have no problems, which was tied to that.
Correct, right.
Zoom audience.
Fiduciary responsibility.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I
Thank
wanted
you.
to ask you a little bit about, cause you touched on Bitcoin and crypto.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about that a little
Sure.
bit, because I know at one time it was this whole big thing with the Bitcoin, you know, to make the money.
Yes.
And the crypto, I can't think of the guy's name that who's in trouble for the crypto now.
Yeah, the
Sam
guy
Bankman
who
Fried.
ran FTX.
So what I wanted to know is, because I never did it, but I wanted to know at this point with everything that's going on with it, like how actually safe, or can you maybe say how safe it is at this?
So I can't say anything to say. What I can say is.
I mean, we don't have nothing to say.
No, right.
Yeah.
What I can say is, based on my experience in understanding the powers that be, it's a game. So, it's the perfect time, it's Black Friday right now. They're making everything low, and specifically, obviously, to the things that's gonna sustain, because, again, the trend is always the same, like the .com, there were companies that were created and that didn't sustain itself, right? We all know that, and the Napster didn't survive. But who survived it? The Google, the Apple, the Microsoft, right? We gotta think like that. Yeah, this is another trend, but they're gonna be companies that are sustaining because this is where we're in, right? So we're dealing with AI, right? Artificial intelligence, right? We're dealing with bots right now, even when it comes to also, I didn't talk about this, but trading, right? Trading is another way to also sustain and build wealth, right? Stock options. But the point I'm making is, you have to find what is going to be sustainable in this new phase, right? This evolution, to make an investment. And why now is a good time? Because everything is pretty much at a sell. So when I got in the market, so let me just tell briefly, when I got in the market, like I said, 2017, the people who got in the market in 2009 got in at 10 cents or even less than a penny, right? When I got in the market, Bitcoin was $900 and Ethereum was $75, right? I saw my greatest investment increase by 400%. I was like, whoa. And that was in
Is that on
2018.
stock?
No, I was Ethereum. Ethereum is kind of like,
Oh, okay.
Ethereum is kind of like comparison to gold and silver, right? So Ethereum is pretty much the World Wide Web, right? In a sense, in the crypto language, right? And it's been sustainable. So Ethereum, when I got in at $75 and it went to $1,200 and I bought a lot of them and it went to 400%, I did really good for myself, right? Because I got in at the right time. But then it crashed, right? Because there's something called a 4-year forking for Bitcoin, right? And it's halving. But I got in prices that was 0.1 cents on some of these alt stocks, 4 cents, 10 cents. So when I said that I saw a portfolio of 6 figures, and part of my greed didn't take profit, like I recommend everyone to take that asset to invest in something else, please do so. I've seen numbers. I've had investment partners and we invested because we were in the right time of where it is. So now when I got at 10 cents, the same when it goes up to $20, think about it. And now it has, because everything's a cycle, to be honest. With women, we have cycles, right? So it's a cycle. So now we're at that cycle again where they're like, we're in here now. And when I say them, I'm talking about the private large firms, the BlackRocks, the Chase, the large firms and the higher ups who control, right? They want to get in at a sell. So they're gonna do what they can to bring it low. No, everything is not gonna sustain, every crypto is not gonna sustain. It's over 2,000 cryptocurrencies. But I tell you one thing, the technology is needed. So there are gonna be some coins that are sustainable. And so to figure out where you wanna invest, look at and follow the money. Bitcoin cannot be controlled, it can only be manipulated because again, there's no one behind it, it's the technology. When you look at other research and other companies, there are people behind it, and so you hear the stories of the greed that happens with FTX, right? The greed that happens with Bitfinex, and I've been in part of some of them, where I've lost. But the technology is not going anywhere. You have major companies that sold to larger companies, I'm trying to use the name on top of my head, Plaid, which is something if you ever do, if you ever look for like Sophie and loans, they actually use Plaid as a connection to your account to confirm that you have a certain amount of money in your company. But Plaid was sold and bought by someone larger. They made $5 billion, and then the larger companies say, you know what, I don't want to put my investment and information and knowledge to figure out this new blockchain, and then we hire smaller companies. They always do that. Pac-Man, even smaller companies. It's just finding the right company, selling pre-stocks. It's not going to go away. It's part of an asset. Like people said, stocks are going to go away. Oh my God, I have people who left stocks and just only do crypto. As an investor, have several streams, right? But there are major companies. You could look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, and anything that's part of the iOS 2022, because there's more for cross-border payments. Which is important. Just look at things that you don't think are gonna go, that is needed, right? And not gonna go away. But it's a sell right now. And it's having that patience. Because just think about it. When you research major companies, before the evolution of technology, even during, the average company made it 20 years. When you look at the evolution of technology, when you look at Facebook and Apple and Google, they made billions in 10 years. See how it keeps getting shorter? Now you have people, look at the next, they say 2 years, 3 years, because I've invested since 2017, right? I'm not giving up. The next 2 years, 3 years, if you made a solid investment, a long-term investment, and you ride it, and you get out, and get back in, when you low and highs, you can make changes in your life.
One of the things I was taught is that if you have $50,000, this goes to like, her idea, I won, I lost, I had money and I lost and I made money because, you make financial decisions. They say if you have $50,000 to invest, what should you do? And they say take $5,000 of that money and learn about investing. Like, learn about what the currencies are in your various financial assets, from stocks to bonds to pork bellies to metals to gas, all kinds of everything. You can trade everything. You can trade clothing. There's a company that makes clothing that's owned by a large corporation that's traded on the stock market. But you have to learn. This is not something you go, oh, Ray told me about crypto, I'm gonna do this.
Right.
Because that's when you get hurt, and that's when you get your feelings hurt, and that's when you quit.
So you're right, because I got down here and I underlined it, research.
I did that.
That's what I'm saying, research, because I was telling you about my account.
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
not going to change, but I gotta do some research first.
Yes.
On which direction I wanna go in, so I know where I'm putting my
100%.
my money at, yeah. So that's really important, research. But that used to be my career, as I come up a little
Right,
bit.
it's in you, you got this, 100%.
Yeah.
But the more we become more financially literate, the better we'll be as a community. And everyone has talent, everyone has knowledge. I mean, even having a conversation with Ray, Raj and Ray, and just you too, having a background in it, there's so much we can share. And yes, things change and things are new, but things really aren't that new.
Right. And the evolution, I know that's right.
Yes.
I know that's right, so I know that's true what she's saying about that right there. So, yeah, okay. I was just wondering about the Bitcoin and the crypto, even though I'm still not comfortable with it right now. I'll just leave that alone for right now. Not to say it's a bad thing, but I'm just not comfortable with it right now, so.
Well, I would say this, right? With my clients, I had a guy from NTA, he was when he came in XRP, but he was adamant about it because he did research. He was like, no, this is what I want, right? Most of us don't learn because we don't jump in. And when I say jump in, is crypto is a thing, and why people miss is because what we do heavy research for 3 years and miss the boat. And I'm not being facetious, I'm being really honest. For me to have learned, I was doing research and I said, what am I willing to risk to lose to put it in? And I had a client at one time, we had our BK crypto meetups, and she said, my brother's an investor and he won't share with me, but all I have is $10. I was like, no, fine, let's open up an app for you, put $10 in. Because time in this game really is real. It waits for no one. It's that quick with information. Even me looking to get into cybersecurity, the information moves so quickly. So I'm not saying yes, do your research, but sit with yourself and say, you know what? What am I willing to lose? Let's put $5 in here and say, like Reshonah, help me while I put $5 in here. Because there are coins that are 0.01 cents or 0.0004 cents. That are good projects, solid projects. So that you can begin to not be scared.
Right.
You're only scared because you play the technology. Well, stocks what? It's the same thing. You're owning a company, but it's still digitally.
Right.
But they send you a paper or a proxy, so you feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, because now everything's digital too. Just play with it. I had to learn by playing with it too. Even the technology, the wallets, and the passcodes was 12 mnemonic phrases. But it was fun because if I want to lose this $20, so what?
Right.
But that $20 could actually turn into $1,000, and I'm telling you because I've seen it.
Anybody from the Zoom audience got a question? Okay, my question is, I was always taught that when I used to deal with Primerica, that you get low cost term and you take the rest of the money, because whole life was a little more, but it accumulates cash. That you get low cost term insurance and you take the rest and you invest it in mutual funds. ETFs wasn't even out.
I did that.
Now,
Yep.
you got a term life policy, but after the term is gone, you're gone. So that's one of the problems I was always told, term life. Question number 2 is the robber barons of the world, the Chases, the DuPonts, the big people in London that controls America,
Yes.
the Gates. Are they gonna give up? You mean to tell me they've been controlling and stealing? As Dr. Clark would say, just they don't want to pay for anything. Are they going to give up that corporate power, that greed that they have stolen for centuries on something that you said is not going to be controlled when they have controlled?
So
That's,
I can't
that's
answer
why
that
I
question.
understand. That's why the cryptocurrency and the people are saying,
but this is what I can tell you.
right.
Right? If you just follow the money and look at history, they create things. So in your head, you're thinking that they're not controlling this. You heard what I said? Right now, with the World Forum and him passing,
World Economic
World
Forum
Economic Forum, right?
says you won't own nothing, you won't do it, right?
Who do you think they're trying to get along with that, right? All the United Nations, right? But even more so, the banks who also control, but that's who controls, central banks, right?
Right.
They're working towards a central bank,
Banking.
digital currency.
They talk about it now, yes.
Who controls that? That's how claims not going away. They crashed the system. So you're gonna have your dark money, so to say, right? And you're gonna have your centralized money, but it's control.
And I was telling my wife, I said, well,
The dark web. I mean, it just keep it honest. Good question. But who is always the puppet?
I said, how can Raji's airline, Mike's airline, Sister Yasmin's airline with the same computer system and only my airline, Southwest, all of a sudden crashes and millions of people can't get nowhere? I said, something's not right. Is this a test run?
It's always a test run. Always ask yourself that question. But don't move in fear.
Right.
Because if that was the case, where we have never made investments in stock market again after several crashes, Black Monday, right, Tuesday, like, think about it. It's all historic. But don't get confused about what's really happening. It's the greatest wealth transfer. You can have 10% of your portfolio in crypto. We're talking about, basically we're saying to diversify. But the technology is amazing. It's not going anywhere. You're talking about AI, you're talking about AI art. There's so many layers to it. You're talking about them finally using medical records and using blockchain because again, people were, information was being breached, right? So yeah, you're talking about one aspect of it, which is maybe the currency aspect, but the technology in itself is what is evolutionary.
Digital currency.
And it's not going anywhere, the blockchain. The things that they're doing is out of this world, the way they're connecting with the world in itself is amazing. And it's only evolving. I mean, AI, whether you like it or not, soon be in your house like how we saw the Jetsons. Do you know what I mean? I mean, the amount of different apps that are out there right now, you don't have to think anymore. It's sad, but I'm keeping it real because AI is doing it for you. And I'm not saying to totally go immerse in this and just drop everything. I'm saying that when things change, become knowledgeable of it, profit from it, and grow. That's what I'm advising, right? There's something to learn from it. There's some good out of this. And I'm also saying go back to basics because then you can listen to your internal technology directing you. Because that is the source.
Raji?
One of the things that when you're looking for an investment is you don't invest in a certain product or a certain thing. You invest in the person behind it. Biggest example is this guy sitting back in Friday just now. And I knew about FTX when it was starting out, and they brought the guy on. The guy is not an intelligent guy. However, if you'd invested in FTX in 2020 and you got out in 2021, you'd have made money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to play that game, that's a very dangerous financial game because this guy was nothing. He didn't have a track record. He didn't have anything going for him. They just came out and they just pimped him across the board.
Yep.
So the same thing happens with a lot of other companies. Like if you watch CNBC and this guy is talking about a stock, or if you read Black Enterprise or Fortune magazine, that stock's already moved. You know what I mean? By the time the information comes out, by the time he opens his mouth, gets his time, goes on TV, the stock's already moved. And one of the things I recommend that you do learn in your education is how to read price charts. I told Reshonah a joke the other day. I was sitting right here in this room, we were discussing finance, and some sister over here said, why do people know when to buy when it's going up? And it's like,
Again, right?
stop that shit.
Right.
Because I can show you how to read a price chart, and you become that white person that knows when it's coming up. Price charts, and the thing about a price chart is if you can recognize two colors, and you can count to 10, you can read a price chart. What these people do, the so-called white man, is nothing that you can't do. You read the price chart, you can Google it, candlestick charts, watch a YouTube video, and then teach you everything. And you look at the bottom of the video, and it says 1,500 views. Then you go to some dumb shit, and it's 40 million views. You see what I'm saying? You see a guy eating ice cream and beating up his cat, 40 million views. You see a video that can change your entire life, teaching you how to read a price chart, 1,100 views. So that's how you can get a rapid education in finance. It's just a simple price chart. All price charts are the same. It's like driving down the road.
Yeah.
It's a black road, stop signs.
Right. I have a friend, or not even a friend, but I know somebody, and he calls it spiritual cooking, but he is up because the London markets is open
Yeah, at
at
3:30,
that time. up and he's doing what he gotta do. He trades a lot on Forex.
Forex.
Yeah.
With his foreign exchange.
So, right, so he's up, because the London markets are open now.
Yes.
So he's seeing what's going on way ahead before it even hit on us, on
Will come to the
CNBC.
United States?
Well, our market opens up at pretty much, you can start at 7:30, but big.
9 o'clock.
At 9:30.
Yeah,
But you
well,
can still trade at 7:30 on
The-
some
The,
markets, yeah.
the Wellington markets, which is New Zealand, they open around 5 o'clock. Tokyo opens up around 6.
Yeah, they're later.
London opens up.
They're
much
much
later. They're like 3 o'clock in the morning, depending on the daylight savings time, 3:30 in the morning. And then New York opens up at 9:30. And that's when you see.
It's volatility though.
Right. And that's when you see the currencies really start to move. And those are the things you gotta know. You can literally, like I was showing Reshonah, one trading strategy that you can just make money. And you can become a specialist. You could be like, what's your name?
Phyllis.
Phil. You could become a specialist at one financial asset
Right.
and ignore everything else. Like euro and the yen, that's what you do. On pork bellies, on crypto, I just do euro and yen.
Focus on that.
Yeah, and become a
One
specialist.
of my investors just trades gold. You know, that's the thing, you know, choosing what you feel comfortable with, but I think the message that we're saying here too is choose something. Make changes,
Exactly,
you know? Learn something. YouTube, again, technology, it's the new university. If you don't have no money,
I
right?
just fixed my car on YouTube and saved $150.
It is the new university. I do.
Fixed your car.
Fixed the car on YouTube. The Toyota wanted to charge me $199. The guy did me a favor. Me and him was talking, and he said, "Listen, go buy the part, go on YouTube, and you can do it yourself." My wife saw me. I was out there, and I try stuff. So, Zoom audience. Anybody from the Zoom audience has a question? Anybody from the Zoom audience have a question from this wealth of information? Nothing from the Zoom audience. Going once, going twice, 3 times, that's a wrap. Okay. Brother Mike has a question.
Yes, just want to ask you, are there any regrets of selling the house you initially owned? the
Good
White House?
question. I think about it a lot. Yeah, because as I reflect, I have more strategies than what I could have done with it. I'm just putting time and the connection with my grandma. But I know everything has a time and purpose. So I don't want to live in regrets, but I do think about it. I was able to sell it to a beautiful family, and that was important to me. Leaving it from a block that was predominantly black, and that I gave it to someone who wasn't going to turn it into several different apartments, because I had investors coming to me too. So I had to stand my ground, and I was like, no, and it wasn't about the money. It was finding the right family.
And sometimes as people, homeowners or whatever, we really get emotionally attached to whatever property
100%.
that we have. So selling it, even though you might need to or have to, that becomes a problem because you're emotionally attached.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
But I couldn't deal with, again, taking care of my mom, I had to deal with her, and being house poor. That's when you have to sit in yourself, what's worth more. That's a conversation you deal with yourself, your family, your partner, whomever, if this is gonna make the best changes for us in the future. So I can say gratitude and thank you, Grandma, for having that insight, But there's more to come. And I'm interested in looking at properties that are out the country, making different investments. Because the honest truth is that New York is not the end all be all. At all. The problem is, again, the mindset. We are limited in what investment means in financial advancement. We think it's just being all here. Do you know most people migrated, like the big migration out of New York?
Yes.
Because it was not sustainable to even build the idea of building wealth?
Yeah, they said it on TV.
So you're gonna take your money where it's gonna treat you best. And that's giving up the idea of, oh my God, if I go anywhere else, I can't come back, I come to Brooklyn, this is it. Then you're cheating yourself of your paradise in passion life. Because for me, I have a whole passion life adventure in my head. And if Brooklyn ain't gonna be the one to do it, I'm gonna find some countries to live my best life. And my family and generations. But again, like you just said, it's not being attached.
Not being at that,
Well, I know one thing, and my sister is a witness, and my wife is a witness. When you was talking about the real estate, we had a brother, he left us too soon. You talking about a genius and didn't have the heart to pull the trigger. We will have been rolling, and two brothers, to be honest with you. Two brothers. And he used to say, you better do it, and we're a day late and a dollar short.
They
left us-
were definitely
They
way
were-
smarter
they
than
were,
us. when it came
man.
down to that, yeah.
So,
But they knew, and we had,
So can I just say way smarter, but way smarter that they didn't have their self prepared with documents to transfer the property?
no, they were telling, they
Oh,
were
to
into.
make investments, but you didn't make the
Right.
investments,
They were
okay.
into it big time.
Yes.
This was before the spike in prices went up.
Mhm.
And I didn't listen, my sister didn't listen, and we wouldn't have had nothing to worry about
Yeah.
from what was going on. So I know what you, I understand what you mean. And it's good that you did the lecture to say you could always start all over
Always
and regroup.
jumping off the roof, but taking your life, and I say that sensitive to the matter, because the truth is, money's not the all end all. It's the, you know, I just tell my son, money's not the root to all evil, you know, and I created this new platform of as I'm a financial healer, into healing the soul, to dig to the root of why we have traumas with money, but where does it come from before that? It's the people in root. Money's not evil, it's a tool to get to what we need, to provide, to enjoy, to build a legacy, to help communities, to help family. I told my son, you have a big heart, and because you have a big heart like to give, you better find the right career or business that's gonna make you the amount that you need for yourself, your family, and the community. Because you're miseducated on, right, investments and money. Because I felt like he was sensitive based on him telling me how much he wanted to make in his t-shirt sell opposed to the reality of what a cell phone costs. And I was like, brother, you're not getting it. Let me break it down. Let me show you my bills. Again, because you maybe didn't get it. And he was like, okay, Mom, well, I think that's my t-shirt line. My goal is to make 2,000. I'm going to do 50% here. This investing. I said, oh, so now you're remembering. Because $100 is not going to cut it. You get what I'm saying? It's real. And it's reiterating. How old should teach financial literacy? If they can talk, if they're 3 years old, you can show them some pictures or exchange for, you want this candy, you're going to clean your room and I'm going to give you 5 cents. And I know that's too cheap, but it's teaching them gradually, right? How to create this financial literacy about building wealth and sustaining it in what it costs, or the time to create, right? Or how to get to invest at a young age, right? That things cost, and you're gonna need some type of tool. I don't know by then what it's gonna be by then, but you need some form of exchange to get what you want. Some type of asset to get what you want, to be clearer.
you know what they're starting now? And they did this years ago, and they started, I don't know if you remember, but it was back in 297. They used to say, open up a savings account for like, you know, a couple of bucks and just leave it there. But we didn't have no money to put in it every month or whatever. But if you left that $5 there back in, well, I don't want to say.
But interest rates were better then.
You know, but that $5 would have, you know, what's the name? So they're starting to do it again.
Well,
now.
they're doing that. You have Stash, you have Acorn. There's so many apps now. Honestly, I mean, there's so many ways to take your change and allow it to sit and to grow. There are too many ways now when you have birthday parties and gifts, there are too many things that you can offer that can help to invest in the child. You know, it's a choice though. It's a choice. It's a choice to take your term life, and if that's all you can, so let's be clear with that, if that's all you can afford this time is term life, then get it. Get some type of protection. But in the meantime, work towards getting a whole life because that's your bank.
Yeah. So the financial plan is in all my life. I know how whole life is better because you can borrow off of
Cash value.
off of your policy. But I also heard that term life was the better one, but it is term.
Better for
So if I took out a term life like 20 years ago and I died before the 20 years, before. If I outlived the 20 years, then it didn't make no sense to get the term life because I don't outlive the 20 year.
But why would they say that? Why? I'm trying to understand why is term better.
Isn't it because it's more, you can get more in term life?
It's like a financial decision. You can get a term life for like, and I'm just using this as an example. You could get, say, like $300,000 term life for like 20 years for like $15 a month. You can't get no whole life for $300,000.
So,
That's what they tell you. The financial plan is that is always, get the the term life. The problem, in my opinion, in my mind, is if it's for 20 years and I live longer than the 20 years, then the term life is no good.
Right.
At that point, right?
So what I heard just now, I think I reiterate that with you and agree that it's cheaper. It's
The
not
term life is definitely
it's not.
cheaper.
It's because there's a difference between better and cheaper,
Right.
and that's how we get into the situation now.
Right.
This is how we get into, oh, I can't afford to do my healing journey. I can't afford to get my psilocybin hit my head because you're going with the cheaper. Oh, I can't afford her services and consultation. She charges $111, but I can't afford it. But if that's a person what's going to change your life, why are you going cheaper? You see? So for a salesperson, and I said clearly, if that's all you can afford to start something for your family, then yes, but it is not better.
Well, it's not better because you can't borrow nothing
Because
off
you
of
can't
it.
expand your legacy with that,
Right.
and that's a problem. It's not your bank.
Right.
It is exactly what it is termed
It's
for.
term.
Right, so if you only have $15, I would highly recommend the person that I'm talking to saying, when you can't afford to get whole life, because it can do this and this, so, but if you can only get this now, because God forbid, you have someone to protect you, 100%.
So that is one of the reasons that sometimes they say term life, and I think you said Primerica said something like that to you, am I right?
In Primerica, when they still out, they would give you low-cost term life, and the difference that you would have been paying for a whole life, they was taking it and putting it in mutual funds, and that was growing.
Oh,
But the
okay.
fees that they was charging,
Because they were getting paid off of that.
the fees was astronomical, so.
Because you're getting, so I've got close by Primerica, I'm not knocking anyone's hustle. Go get it. I think the best person, if you're talking to any financial advisor, healer, whatever, they should be transparent with you, especially when you're sitting with them and telling them what's your goal and why you need so and so. And if they break down, because I have a wealth manager, and he'll say, what's your goal? What's your budget right now? I've referred him, and he'll be like, you can't afford this right now, but in time we can change this to a universal whole life, or we can do so and so. If your financial advisor ain't recommending or helping you build up to the future, then you need to fire them.
Yeah, no, you're right, I forgot the universal till you just mentioned it.
Because
I have had some.
there's stock options in a universal where
yeah.
you can get universal whole life, and it's based on the stocks. There are several options for whole life. But if they're not telling you that and they selling you, walk away.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't think of it. I was just trying to explain why sometimes a financial planner will recommend term.
Oh, 100%,
Because,
I agree.
yeah.
If they can't
But
afford
you're right,
it,
there is a universal. I think that's like a combination of both.
it's a combination of both.
So, right.
But you, again, with your research, because I always say, even me going to my life insurance policies, I did some brief research. I mean, I had a lot at the time anyway, but then too, everyone's situation is different. But your goal should aim to being your own bank, if you could afford it.
Right.
Zoom audience, anybody from the Zoom going once?
I forgot
Okay. Zoom audience, anybody have a question? Going once? Going twice? Okay, that's a wrap for the Zoom. We're gonna take one more from the floor. Anybody from the floor have a question to ask? There's no such thing as a stupid question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. We have somebody here that knows what's going on. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Any historian would tell you that. So we got some from the floor. Sister Yasmin, do you have a question?
I want to ask you, what's the difference between a trust fund and a power of attorney?
A power of attorney.
A trust fund
If
and a
Ray
power
Ray,
of
if I give Ray Ray
So-
a power of attorney, he can handle all my business,
Correct,
everything.
correct,
I can check everything, do my banking, this and that. I'm giving him power of attorney
correct.
to handle everything for me.
Are you mean the trust?
Because the
Living
trust fund is
trust
different
or
from
or a power of attorney?
A trust fund, you can set up to somebody who.
right, giving order and direction to who's the executor of it.
Right.
Right, because I was trying to understand, they're not
I don't think she meant
similar.
trust fund. I
They
think
don't
she-
think you mean trust fund, I
Now,
don't
I'm
think
saying, what
so.
is the difference between the trust fund and the power of attorney?
I don't see how, I guess I'm trying to understand, they don't really coincide.
I think she might be confusing the living trusts with the trust fund.
Because a power of attorney is someone that helps delegate while you're also alive. I did it for my grandmother in order to sell her house because she was incapable.
Right.
You know what I mean? That gave the authority to deal with her fiduciary responsibilities. Am I missing something? Right? I'm trying to understand the question.
No, I was just trying to figure out.
Okay.
What is the difference, because, is there a big difference between a trust fund and a power of attorney?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't, I guess if I would look at comparison, they wouldn't be in the same sentence.
Right.
But if you're talking about
They
power
two
of attorney to
different.
deal with the trust
Yeah,
fund,
they two different.
So what's the power of attorney is what?
a power attorney is just, it's like, you give me authorization to handle your fiduciary responsibilities. The same like how you have a health, policy where if anything were to happen with me health-wise, a health proxy, you know, I'm in control of that. I had to do it with my mom too. You know what I mean? But that power attorney is powerful, when you are living, but in a sense incapable, right? And so it allows you to do everything for them. Go to their bank, you know, make decisions on selling the house, yeah.
Medical
Give authority,
decisions.
medical decisions
Medical
too.
decisions.
Medical decisions too, once you do that health proxy too, that helps a lot.
Because I know when my daughter was in the military, right, and the lawyer called me and told me that I'm a power of attorney.
Yes, okay, yep.
So I was-
If anything were to happen, you would have total control.
And can I just mention that there's a difference between a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy?
Yes, 100%. It's different.
It's a difference, yeah. So somebody get that a little confused too. So they have the power, and I give it to Ray Ray or Linda, you know, listen, I'm sick, I give them power to do everything for me.
Mhm.
But if I get sick and the medical decision has to be
That's
made
your health
about me,
proxy.
then that's where the healthcare proxy
Mhm.
comes into play.
To determine, do I pull a plug or not pull a plug? Do I?
Right.
Yeah, and those are things that, again, you have to put in existence, right, with your will and your life insurance. Those are all things that are very important.
Yeah.
Can people join your BK crypto group?
Yeah, you can join my BK Crypto group. We're actually now in Discord, and our apparel line is bk-crypto.com, which we are supporting, creating, and selling apparel to help to donate to other foundations that are specifically geared to helping the community in tech.
What did you say it was?
It's bk/crypto.com. And then we're in Discord, and I can always share the link too. We are BK Crypto under Commonwealth. We actually merged with one of our partners. And in the BK Crypto group, we talk about everything, the education of crypto, investment strategies, educational platform. We talk about the metaverse, everything. And we are a group that has been growing in this space, and we have age group from 20 to like 60, 70 years old in our group. Yeah, still,
Okay,
it's amazing.
ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? Zoom audience. Okay, well, we want to give our speaker system a shout out. First big hand. Yeah! And I want to thank our good brother, Brother Rajiv, for recommending us. He is the bomb. Ladies and gentlemen, give her a big hand. She will be back to the William Mackey Jr. History Club in 2023. Give yourself a great big hand.
Thank you.
Zoom audience, you can chat. We're going to clean up, and thank you very much.
Thank you.